Hey folks, last year I didn't do quite so well on the R Fantasy reading challenge, so for year number 2 I'm going to try and go ahead and actually complete every single prompt on the board. Will I manage it? We will have to see. If you'd like to see how I did last year, that is up there in the cards for you. And before I delve in to all the prompts and the books that I have on the TBR for it, I will say that 1, this is not definitive. I may read something else that fits into the prompt and just slot that in because why not? And 2, there are 2 prompts for each space on the board. There's a regular prompt that you can see and there is a hard mode that makes it more difficult. There's no reward for doing hard mode other than personal satisfaction, but I am trying to do hard mode for all of these just because why not make it more difficult for myself? So, row 1 we have a trans or non-binary protagonist, and the hard mode for this is that it is pre-modern. It is set in a historical setting for this, and I'm going with He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker-Chan. She Who Became the Sun I have back there and was a really interesting read, so I'm very curious about finishing off this duology, and it is indeed a historical fantasy, so that counts for that one. Then the next prompt is to judge the book by its title, with the hard mode being to not read the blurb. Now I was tempted to go for I Who Have Not Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman for this one, but I read the blurb before I read it, annoyingly. So instead I'm going to go for Mostly Human Resources. This is a book I have from NetGalley. I can't remember the author off the top of my head and I don't know what it's about. But I'm curious with that title, aren't you? I want to know what it's about, so I can't tell you about that one, because it ruins the challenge. Hey. Next prompt, translated, with the hard mode being that it has to have been translated in the last 5 years, and so I am going with The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop by Takuya Asakura, translated by Yuka Maeno. This is indeed translated in the past 5 years and follows this little magical bookshop that people can sync up with when they read certain chapters of a book, and it allows them to experience and expand on their grief about a certain situation or about a person and come more to terms with what's going on in their life. Then a book that is self or indie published, with the hard mode being that it either has under 100 reviews on Goodreads or is by a marginalised author. I think that is what I've put. That is what I've put. For this one, I've written down Mudpuddle Manual. This is what I mean. I haven't looked too much into this, but it is published by a small press. I will put that here as well. So that's what I'm reading, because I don't really have much on my physical owned shelves anymore that is by indie, because I don't buy as many books and I think I've read all of my indies. I have a few books that could potentially work for this if I don't manage to read this Mudpuddle thing. There will be some that aren't from the big 5 and Blume 3. On my shelves, so I may end up reading those if needs be, but the Mudpuddle is the plan. And then the final one for this row is Unusual Transportation Method, and that is unusual to us, not unusual in world. So spaceships are pretty common, so you can't use them even if the world finds them weird. Hard mode for this is that it can't be steampunk combustion or anything like that, which does make it more difficult. I've heard that Slow Gods by Claire North works for this. I don't know why. I have loved Claire North's writing, but I haven't read anything new from her in a very long time. So I'm very, very curious to read that one and delve in. Row 2, Afterlife. And the hard mode is that there's no good or bad place in the book, and so I'm going with the Sabriel series. This is the next one I have to read, and that is Goldenhand. In this series we follow someone who has bells that can ring people into death, and sometimes they go and save people that shouldn't be in there, and sometimes they take creatures or people into death that should be there. The very basic idea of the magic side of this and the death side. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the Sabriel series, so exciting to have a nice easy one to cross off the list. The next prompt is Game Changer, and for this one it is a competition or a game or something like that in the book, with the hard mode being that the characters have to bend or break the rules. And for this one I've gotten most of these recommendations when I don't know too much about the books from the R Fantasy Reddit page for this, and people were recommending Battle Royale, and my partner has the first 7 of the manga as well as the book, and I thought I would make it slightly easier on myself and also read something that I don't tend to read very often because I don't read many manga, and go for the manga instead. So this is by Koushun Takami and Masayuki Taguchi, And this, if you don't know, is the Hunger Games before the Hunger Games. So you end up into this, you're a 9th grader and you end up in this death game on TV. Is this one? Have fun. The next prompt is a vacation spot, somewhere that you would like to go, and there's no hard mode because you're on holiday. I've went with System Collapse by Martha Wells because this book, I know where it's set because it follows on from Network Effect, and whilst there is situations going on, if you've read any Murderbot, of potential death and destruction, I would love to explore an alien world, and I feel like if they fix it, hopefully they do, I don't know, but if they fix it, then like I'd love to go and explore this alien planet in a safe manner. Then 5 short stories. This was included last year, so I think it's included most years, with the hard mode being that it's in one collection. And there's the collection called The Time Traveller's Passport that's come out, and it's got books from what are their names? It's got R.F. Kuang, it's got John Scalzi, I think. It's got a variety of authors in, and there is at least 5 in there. It might just be 5, it might be 6, but there's at least 5 in there, so I'm going to read that. Ta-da! And obviously it's all about time travel, which will be fun to read. Okay, and then the final prompt for this line is an older protagonist, with the hard mode being that they don't have any longevity-ness added to them, and they're not immortal. So for example, they can't be vampires or fae, etc. For this one, I'm really struggling to find anything that I know has this and that I want to read. So you're allowed 1 reread per the board, and I think I might read one of the Witches books from Discworld. I have most recently, within the time frame, because I'm a bit late of this, read some of the Tiffany Aching, but the main character is obviously Tiffany Aching, who is a child. Whereas if I go back and reread some of the Witches books, then we have Nanny Ogg and Granny Weatherwax, who are very much older protagonists. Then for the third row, the first prompt is to read part of a duology. This is part 1, there's 2 parts of this prompt. The hard mode in this one is that it is a new author that you've never read from before. For this one I have went with Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh, which I got the unhauled copy from Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe. I know very little about this, but I know it's a YA duology. A tale of murder, betrayal, and one girl's courage. The only daughter of a prominent samurai, so it'll be very interesting to read this, get it off of my shelves, and to know if I want to read book 2. The second prompt is a book club / read-along book, and the hard mode for this is that you have to discuss it on Reddit. So the R Fantasy Reddit has read-alongs, book clubs, etc. all year long of a variety of different books, different genres, and you need to read one of them, and if you want to do the hard mode, chat about it in Reddit. I don't really use Reddit, so the only time I ever use it is to put some comments in for this challenge. I did the same thing last year, and I have picked If We Cannot Go at the Speed of Light, which is a sci-fi short story collection. I'm part of the way through it now. Like I said, I'm a bit late to this, and I'm really enjoying it. The short stories are fascinating, so I'm looking forward to chatting about that one. It cut me off 3 books back. How rude. Okay, I'm just going to potentially repeat myself. Where even was I? A book published in 2026 was the prompt that it stopped on, and the hard mode is that it is the author's first novel. I have went with The Traveller by Joseph Eckert. In this book we are following a man who jumps forward 24 hours, we don't know why, and then this keeps doubling over time, and his wife and son are trying to stop it and to have him stay with them. I'm sure that is going to be heartbreaking. Then the next prompt is Explorers and Rangers in the main characters, with the hard mode being that they have an animal companion. And of course the Feybound series by Saara El-Arifi works for this, in this case using Cursebound, and our main character indeed goes into the forest, explores, tries to survive, and she also has an obeah as her animal companion. So this is perfect. And then the final prompt for this row is the duology part 2 prompt. So if you have decided to go with the easy mode, you can just read the second half of the duology you already started. But hard mode, the prompt for hard mode is that it's a different series and a different author from prompt 1. So I'm going with Shannon Smart's Empress Crowned in Red, which is the second book in the Witches Steeped in Gold duology. I didn't love the first one. It could have been written better, but this is the second book. Part of the first one was potentially just like debut author issues, so I'm hoping this one will be better. It has Caribbean and Jamaican folklore entwined in this fantasy world, so should be very interesting. The next row, a one-word title, and the word cannot be a proper noun. I haven't done English in a while, but I'm pretty sure Snuff counts by Terry Pratchett. This is the 39th Discworld book, and this one follows Vimes as he is forced to go on holiday and ends up still doing Vimes stuff when he's on holiday, because of course he does. Then the next prompt is a non-human protagonist, with the hard mode being that there is no human POV in the book. And for this one I'm going with Green City Wars by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this one follows a raccoon PI trying to find a mouse doctor. And there's no humans in this one at all. A very weird concept. Then the next prompt is nice and easy, middle grade, but the hard mode is that it is a new author to you, so I'm going with Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. This is a British author, but the book is set in an American national park, and it is YA zombies, post-apocalyptic, I think. Should be good. The next prompt is First Contact, and the hard mode for it is that it has to be non-violent First Contact. I don't have my copy because my father has it. The sod, because he's read it and he loved it. I'm so happy. He's bringing me it back, but Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir fits for this perfectly. I'm so happy. I love this book so much. So that's what I'm using for that. And then the final one for this row is a murder mystery, with the prompt being no detectives for hard mode. And my copy is over here and does not have the dust jacket on, because I'm currently reading it. But we have The Haunting of a Bronte, so let me, who cares about that, I'll hold up the dust jacket. Haunting of a Bronte, this is the second book in a series where a girl from the 1800s ends up with a pager, and when it beeps and she presses it, it takes her in the first book forwards in time to the 90s. Second book, to a different time period, but still, there we go, and she is simply a lady. So there's no detectiveness in there. She is not there on an official capacity. She's just a lass. We're now going on to the final row, and the first prompt is Cat Squasher. If I don't manage hard mode, then the Rosefield by Philip Pullman will work for this one, but hard mode is 900 plus pages. And for that, I'm going with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. Now my edition is 850 pages, I believe, but of course this is a paperback edition and the hardback will be over 900 pages. Don't fight me on this, it's fucking close enough, I'm counting it. If I read the hardback, it would be 900 pages. And I'm going to probably read the ebook. I'm probably going to get myself the ebook, and that'll probably be 900 pages. So that's what I'm doing. This one, I ended up picking it up because it's set in York. 1806, England is beleaguered by the Long War. There's Mr. Norrell, who raises a woman from the dead and summons a fleet of ghostly ships to terrify the French. And then there's another magician, young, handsome and daring Jonathan Strange. So this should be interesting. Don't really know much about it. I ended up going to a Susanna Clarke talk and couldn't resist buying the book. The next prompt is Feast Your Eyes, so a book about food, or with food as a fairly main aspect, and I'm going to go with Tales from the Territory by Travis Baldry. This is a collection of short stories in the Legends and Lattes universe, where obviously coffee is a big thing, but also the food that Thimble makes in the cafe. And it says as the hard mode that you have to make a dish from the book, so Thimble is in here. And so it mentions his thimbles, and I'm pretty sure the recipe for that is in Legends and Lattes, the copy that I have. So I, apparently, am going to try and make thimblets. We shall see. That's the one I'm most likely to fail. Okay, we've got 3 left. Published in the 70s, with hard mode being that the author is a woman. Kindred. Obvious answer here. I've been wanting to read this for ages, and this is the perfect excuse for me to do so. So I'm very happy about that. The next prompt is Politics and Court Intrigue, with the hard mode being that it's at a city level or lower. And I'm going to finish another duology, but I've read this author before, obviously. And that is A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martin. This is very much all about the politics, and it's a city planet. So it counts. Everyone on Reddit says that it counts for the hard mode, or at least the first book does. So I'm counting the sequel, and I'm excited to finally get to this one. And then the final prompt is one that's fairly easy until you do the hard mode. Surprise, surprise. Which is an author of colour. Lovely. The hard mode for this prompt is that they can't live in the US, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, or Australia. Which is surprisingly difficult for books that are on my shelves. I thought I would have more, I do not. So I have managed to pick up on NetGalley a book called The Heart of the Naga. I don't know much about it, but I know that the author is Korean. I do believe it's just been translated from Korean, and it's a massive hit in Korea, so I'm very excited to be able to read that, and it shall count for this prompt. And that is my TBR for this bingo board. Let me know down below, are you taking part in this? Have you ever done it before? I only heard about it a couple of years ago. I don't really use Reddit. I should probably try and get on that. And so I had no idea this was a thing, and I am very excited to be going in for the second year and see if I can actually manage it this time round. I feel like a lot of other read-alongs understandably make the prompts a bit easier to do, even not the hard mode. They make the prompts a bit more accessible for everyone because they want people to join in, and I actually quite like that the R fantasy prompts are quite difficult and really make you reach outside of your comfort zone and for different weird books, because it expands your reading horizons, and that's something that I always think is worthwhile. So I'm excited for this one. I am determined that I'm going to try and actually do it this year. We shall see. Wish me luck. If you'd like to see how I get along, hit the subscribe button and follow along for the next year to see what I read, and I will see you folks in the next video. Bye!